failing. This extravagant, elaborate, very, very expensive public relations campaign has failed, and the polls that you referred to show exactly that. The public know what's going on. It's not that I've made it up. It's not that I've created a scare. I, as a physician, responded appropriately, professionally, and morally to a scare. The parents were concerned because they knew what was happening to their children. It's going on all over the world. Saudi Arabia, 20 years ago, there were no children with autism. Now there are over 45,000 children with autism. Where have they come from? Where have these children come from?
And then the media spins it and says it's overdiagnosis. You don't go from 1 in 2,000 a decade ago to, what, 1 in 55 in boys, 1 in 96 with both sexes? Or what are the numbers, doctor?
The numbers now in the UK are about 1 in 58 children. The numbers in the US, I'm sure, are approaching that, but they're a little later in catching up. And they use...
Well, I know this. When I was a kid, I didn't see autistic children everywhere. You go to the mall, the grocery store, you're mobbed by them. I mean, it's got to be a third of the kids I look like they're, I'm sorry to say it, like a body snatcher ate their brain.
And the problem is, Alex, that these kids are the worst of the children we see. Who are the children who've got lesser degrees of cerebral damage, who've got brain damage? Who are the children whose IQs have just dropped a few points?
That's lower, and all of the learning disorders and problems.
Exactly. How many children are affected by this? Because what's emerging now is that these conditions have at their core some immune or inflammatory component. And this includes asthma, eczema, hay fever, insulin-dependent diabetes, Crohn's disease, allergic...
What about the major university studies a year and a half ago on H1N1 finding it lowered immunity by half when you took the H1N1 shot? I mean, there's so many studies coming out.
I think these are big problems. What we're discovering again from Africa, Peter Arby's work, which was just broadcast on the Discovery Channel, there are some major problems that were unpredictable and should have been anticipated, but they are damaging the immune system in some children. In some children, the immune system, for whatever reason, genetics, age, combination of other factors, cannot deal with these vaccines, particularly in combination, in the way that it was hoped.
And it's mainly targeting boys. Stay there. I want to come back and go through all of this with you and the hoax that's now been exposed conclusively. We'll cover that first. This is Alex Jones with 5 good reasons you should consider buying a solar power generator. Number 1, new climate legislation could easily double or triple your electric bill. Number 2, our new energy czar wants to control how much power your electric company allows you to have. It's true. Total government control of electricity in the name of smart grid technology is coming. Number 3, in some areas of the country, the power grid is dangerously overloaded. And now, new socialist legislation is only compounding the problem. Number 4, dangerous weather is always a threat to local grids. Every year, thousands of families lose their power from weather-related outages. Number 5, a solar power generator provides powerful backup insurance and peace of mind. Folks, I really believe in the solar power generators offered by Solutions from Science, one of my oldest sponsors. You can get more information at www.mysolarbackup.com. That's mysolarbackup.com. Remember, the government doesn't own the sun, so go to mysolarbackup.com or call 1-877-327-0365. Hello, friends. This is Alex Jones. You've heard me talk about Calben 5-star soaps for years. This is an American-made product of the highest quality and compares to nothing you will find in stores. You can buy factory direct, shipped via UPS right to your door. Check them out on the web at 5starsoap.com or call 800-340-7091. Take my word for it. Once you've used Pure Soap, you won't buy anything else. Since 1947, Calben Soap Company has been showing consumers that soap can be tough on dirt and gentle on the environment. Buy American and stay clean, as well as support InfoWars. Visit 5starsoap.com today or call 1-800-340-7091. Well, Marty, what do you have to say?
As founder and owner for over 63 years, satisfaction is guaranteed or double your dirt back. Call us at 1-800-340-7091 for a free catalog or visit our website, 5starsoap.com. Thank you.
Folks, you've heard us talk about Home Gain before. Home Gain is now offering a special promo where you get up to $150 when you buy or sell a home with a Home Gain agent you find through their Find a Realtor program. Home Gain lets you compare realtors anonymously. It's easy. Go to homegain150.com to find and compare realtors anonymously. Enter promo code HOMEGAIN150 and receive up to $150 when you close a deal with a Home Gain agent. Share the HomeGain 150 promo code with your friends via Facebook, Twitter, text, and more. Look for Max, the HomeGain Gorilla, to find out more about how HomeGain is going to pay you. Visit HomeGain150.com today to enter your promo code and get paid for buying or selling a house. That's HomeGain150.com.
Alex told you the government announced recently that the recession is over. It ended on June of 2009. The millions of Americans unable to find work might not agree. Perhaps the recession ended for the bankers and government employees, but for the rest of us, things seem to be getting worse. Gold and silver haven't heard the news either. They've begun their long-expected journey to the moon. In addition to converting your shrinking dollars into gold and silver, you should consider a food savings account from eFoods Direct. They both make fabulous investments. Food is our greatest dependency, and we know it will be more precious than any financial resource. You and your family need food to survive a crisis, and you can't eat paper, stocks, or metals. Alex has been urging you to invest in delicious, easy-fix meals to enjoy now or save for long-term. This will freeze the cost of your food while you can still afford it. Visit efoodsdirect.com on the internet or call 800-409-5633. That's efoodsdirect.com or 800-409-5633.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
Okay, we've got Dr. Andrew Wakefield here in studio with us, and I want to get into the fact that even ABC News is having to say, okay, well, it does look like that Dr. Wakefield has been right about this, but I wanted to make another statement. If we have this massive amount of brain damage going on, and it turns out that the system knew that this was going on, as the 2000 documents that came out in 2002 when Congressman Dan Burton demanded they be released, and it turned out that the CDC, director and others, it was the minutes of their meeting saying, we've got millions of brain damaged. We've got to cover this up. So this is nothing new. This is a huge cover-up, and they've got to cover this up. They've got to continue to cover it up, because if it ever comes out that they knowingly knew this was happening and didn't care, boy, you talk about problems. Katie, bar the door.
Yeah, let me, what I want to do, Alex, if I may, is just characterize for your listeners and viewers how Brian Deere perpetrated a fraud against the American people.
And for those that don't know, tell us who he is.
Brian Deere is a freelance journalist. Now, you might think from reading what he writes that he's a pathologist, that he's a gastroenterologist, a psychiatrist, and all of these things rolled into one. In fact, he's a freelance journalist who has claimed that he works for the Sunday Times. He is not on the staff of the Sunday Times. He's got into the house of one of the parents in the Lancet paper that we published using a false name. Alex, you're a journalist. Have you ever felt the need to lie to one of your guests about your name or to get someone on your show?
No, I've never lied to anybody to get them on the show. One time I was infiltrating a political secret event, and I didn't even use my wrong name. I just acted like I'd belong there.
Right, and here he is. Here's a journalist using a completely different name, which he admits was for the purpose of deceiving this mother, a mother who was grieving for an extremely badly damaged child, to get into her house and get information on her. Now, that's tragic, and that's not the way journalists behave. So this man is no ordinary journalist by any manner of means. But let me give you an example of how he created the perception of fraud and how it was, in fact, him who caused the fraud. He accused me of changing the histories of the children from the general practitioner records into the Lancet. Now, what happened is each child was referred by their family doctor with a letter saying to Professor Walker-Smith, please would you see this child with the following problems. That letter came to Professor Walker-Smith. He did not have access, nor did any of us, to the GP's original records. They remained in the GP's office. The other thing we had was access to the prospective developmental records of the children. So we took those records and the Royal Free records, and we put into the Lancet paper what we had found, faithfully, exactly in each child. Brian Deere says that there was a difference between what was in the GP records and the Lancet, therefore that was fraud. Let me give you an example. He said that we claimed that the child's problems started after MMR vaccine, but in fact, what he found in the GP records is that the child had hearing problems about 2 weeks before the vaccine was given. And hearing problems are often an indication of evolving autism. That was his opinion. So what we put is, the mother said this child was delirious. A week after the vaccine, 3 days of delirium. That was the first behavioral symptom that the mother reported to us. That was the information we had. However, when we had access to the original records during the General Medical Council hearing about us and our behavior, we went back and we checked those records. What we found was, where their mother had yes, claimed that the child had hearing problems before the MMR, it said underneath, mother worried about discharge from left ear.
Had an earache.
Had an earache with an ear infection, more than enough reason for her to be worried about the child's hearing. But Brian Deere selectively removed the bit about the discharge and just put hearing problems. That is fraud.
But when I read what he said about you, it was so flimsy and also not even correct. But now expanding on this, because the issue is we have all these autistic children. The epidemic is becoming a pandemic. It's getting more and more wild, more and more insane. More and more mainline studies are coming out, backing up and, quite frankly, dwarfing your findings. And now the big announcement here is Dr. Wakefield demands retraction from British Medical Journal after documents prove innocence from allegations of vaccine autism data fraud. The big development here is separate scientists, prestigious ones, they found what you found before you even found it, and you didn't even know this. Yeah, well, so, I mean, they're claiming you just pulled this out of a hat, and now it turns out prestigious scientists in your own country and doctors were finding the same thing.
The same team, working on the same team as I was on, but independently of me, in order to confirm before he went and presented to this meeting exactly what was going on in the intestine of these children, he independently went and had the tissues reviewed by the senior pathologist at the hospital with an expertise.
Yeah, that's who confirmed it. Yeah,
that's right. Now, he did it to the highest standard of scientific rigor. He did it in a blinded fashion. So he, the pathologist looking down the microscope, did not know the diagnosis in the child or their symptoms. All he had was a slide or a set of slides to look at, and he made the diagnosis based on that. And when it came out, it was colitis, 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 colitis. Inflammation of the bowel, exactly as it was faithfully reported in the Lancet paper.
And it turns out you didn't even know about this, but they're running around saying you just made it up, but here it is separately confirmed.
It is so bizarre. They have gone so far out on a limb. They have made such a fool of themselves. And the BMJ, the British Medical Journal, simply, I believe, did not check their facts. They went out and made these wild allegations. And the consequences for me, Alex, I can live with that. I'll deal with it, okay? But for children who have got bowel problems, who will now not get investigated appropriately because the doctors will say, well, that was all a hoax, that was all a fraud, we won't bother. Thousands of children around the world will suffer directly as a consequence of the...
Yeah, but I was reading, and I've got the articles right here, Bill and Melinda Gates, the Rockefeller Foundation, they're pouring funding into vaccines being related to bowel disorders right now. I mean, that's all over the news, and there's all these other big studies coming out confirming what you've said.
Well, I'm interested to hear that because so far, Bill Gates has been pouring money into making sure that every child in the world gets vaccinated and vaccinated.
Well, no, but then also what I'm saying is, and then the treatment of all these burgeoning bowel problems that we're seeing. But separately, there's a lot of other scientific institutions and doctors that have found similar findings to yours.
Yes, indeed. And there are people from as far afield as Poland, from Italy, from Venezuela, from Canada, from the United States of America, and independently from the UK, have found the same bowel disease that we have reported. And so it's real, it's a fact, it's a real. And the great thing is that you can treat these children. You've taken a disease that was historically a dead end. You're broken, your kid's broken, put them in a home, forget about it, move on. No, they're not. They're suffering, and they can be helped. And what's forgotten about in all of this, in this deliberate smoke and mirrors exercise of the public relations, is that the children behind this are suffering from a severe condition that can be ameliorated, can be treated, they can be helped. And that's where our attention should be focused. So
now, for those that don't know, though, just getting into the science of it, I want to come back and get into some of that and also talk about where we go from here and where this epidemic is going. But the stomach, the intestines, the whole tract has more flora and fauna, more autoimmune connections, to put it in layman's terms, than any other part of the body. And so when you start getting injected with all this foreign matter, it can cause problems in your intestines. And as we all know, as you said a few weeks ago, when you get drink a bunch of beer, you feel it in your brain. The intestines and the stomach, they are massively connected to the rest of the body, especially the brain.